About 150 miles south of the San Francisco Bay Area, nestled among the majestic cypress trees and looking out over the rugged and dramatic Pacific coastline, is a place where the ocean meets the mountains in a breathtaking display of grandeur. It's a serene and spiritual place with cascading waterfalls, a gracefully flowing creek, and naturally hot sulfur spring baths. It is a place of spectacular beauty and home to the Esalen Institute. Founded 6 decades ago, Esalen has been the epicenter of the human potential movement. It's a retreat center known for its many psychological, artistic, and spiritual workshops. Esalen is also the birthplace of a unique form of massage. The Esalen Massage, which is now practiced throughout the world, was developed over the years by an extraordinary group of teachers and practitioners who each contributed their own special gifts. I'm Ken Dychtwald. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm an employer, I'm a psychologist, gerontologist, and I've also authored 19 books. And I'm a long-term friend of Esalen since way back 1970. I'm a former student, group leader, resident community member, and donor to this place that is so dear to my heart. Over the years, I played lots of roles, but I get the chance to play a very special role with regard to Esalen right now, which is that I'm going to be interviewing one of the people who's responsible for the creation and evolution of Esalen's incredible form of healing massage. All right. Well, I have the really good fortune today of interviewing my wonderful 50-plus year friend, Brita Ostrom, one of the co-creators of what we think of as Esalen Massage and Esalen Healing Arts over all these decades. And first of all, so good to see you, Brita.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get into some of the heavy stuff around the massage school and your work, I've got a few pictures. All right, so Brita, what's with all these dolls and where were we here in this picture?
You know that's those are my dolls, and I think I lived on that was when we had just moved to the new house, which was on 3 acres of land, and I was pretty much playing by myself. I was an imaginal child. In fact, I had imaginary friends. And those are my dolls, which obviously have been quite played with because most of them are missing their hair.
What part of the world are we in? Where is this place?
That's Vashon Island, Washington, just between Seattle, just off Seattle, really. And we're right outside the greenhouse. We had a little greenhouse. I'm guessing I'm 4 or 5.
Okay, so that's a pretty silly portrait you're smiling for here. But what are we looking at? What is this group of characters?
That's kindergarten, and actually it's a small class because I was born in those years where it had the lowest birth rate. Wartime. I was born during wartime, so by the time we got to kindergarten, there weren't that many of us. Yeah.
What year were you born, Bree?
1944.
Okay, so is that high school or college we're looking at?
High school. That's
high school. Wow, look at the look.
That's my typing teacher. That's me with the very short hair. And the woman standing next to me, she and I were the co-editors of the high school newspaper.
So at this moment in your life, was there any part of your mind that was thinking, and in a couple of years, I'm going to tune in, turn on, drop out, move to Big Sur, and get involved with healing arts?
Well, and that's kind of a 2-part question because the room that you're looking at right behind me is where my father taught. He was in there teaching a history class, and so I was happy to get off the island. I mean, everyone knew my father, and an island is a community times 2. Everybody knows everybody else's business. So getting out of town was, I went from this class, I went to New York City or to New Jersey. Yeah.
To do what?
Go to college. The women's part of Rutgers University, Douglas College. Yeah.
So you became a Jersey girl for a little while.
I'm a Jersey girl, yeah, and that typing skills did me well for the rest of my life. I still love to write.
Okay, so now here we have a new Brita. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me about this person, this beautiful woman we're looking at here.
That is taken in 1972. That scarf is woven by knitted by my friend Samantha. She still is my friend, but she doesn't knit anymore. And gosh, that was such a happy day. I was busy falling in love and I believe that's taken way up on the very top of Big Sur.
So you were in college at Rutgers, New Brunswick, women's college, and then boom, here you are in Big Sur.
In
How
between,
did that happen?
so in between, I was in Haight-Ashbury, and then from there, I heard about Esalen on a radio show with Alan Watts. And first chance I got, I headed south hitchhiking with a friend.
And here's a picture of young Brita with the renowned and infamous Fritz pearls. What do you remember about Fritz Perls, student of Freud, created the modern school of Gestalt therapy and Gestalt behavior practice? What do you remember about him?
You know, the look he has on his face right there of not quite smiling and not quite frowning is really what I remember about him. There was a kind of a steady attentiveness about him. I wouldn't say it was particularly, in our minds, it wasn't kind. He was not about being kind. He was kind in his own way. He was always on, and he was um, frequently critical, but often open. I remember him coming in one night in the lodge. A woman walked in the door. This was how Esalen was then. Walked in the door, started doing tarot readings, and he came right over and watched for the longest time. So he was interested in new things. He definitely wasn't a jump up and down with enthusiasm person.
Okay, so this is a little later in your life, but say a little bit about what drew you to the body work, the massage. And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you your view as to how the whole thing came about and who created it and how that happened. But what drew you to this work, Bree?
Well, if you think back at that picture of those high school girls congregated out on the lawn, you can see that we were a pretty confined bunch. We knew the rules. Our waists were nipped and tucked, and our everything was in place. And there wasn't a physical contact or even a sense of physicality was just really not there. And my family didn't hug that much. They're Scandinavians. They're low on the hug scale. So when I got to Esalen, I was very aware that I might be smart, but I definitely wasn't that embodied is really the right word. We finally came up with it. So massage, I thought, might provide a way that I could learn some of those skills. It was almost like I needed to be taught something that other people knew. And then a wonderful psychic woman at Esalen, Ann Armstrong, sat with me one day, and she was telling me this and that, and actually she was excellent. But she said, among other things, I feel very comfortable with you. Have you thought of doing massage? And it was such a nice little gentle nudge that might actually be a good idea. So I started taking classes I don't know how, I started taking classes.
All right, we're going to return to that in a moment. All right, so this is one of my favorite pictures. I know that's Margaret on the right and Arthur Munier on the left and wonderful Seymour Carter and you. So what's going on here? What were you guys doing?
When I'm 64, that was my 64th birthday party, and we had it up at my friend Helen Morganrath. Helen had been in Big Sur forever and was actually one of the initial movement teachers in Big Sur. And so it was just so wonderful that day to be dancing out on her lawn. Just, it was such a wonderful moment. And dancing with friends and dancing with Seymour. Seymour and I in this picture, we had already been dancing together for 30 years. So wonderful moment.
What's going on here? Where are you?
That definitely isn't my high school. I'm in Japan. I'm in Japan, and that's a graduating class, and so happy to be there. And you can see we met in rooms that had those wonderful mats on them, and yeah, it was a wonderful class. We did, and we continue to do many massage trainings in Japan, and the Japanese love it because of its kind of artistic freeform model compared to their ama.
Wow. So you took the work out different parts of the world, I know.
Yes, and the world changed.
Well, we'll get back to that as well. All right. So this is we're getting down to it here. 3 generations of nasty women. What do we got here, Bree?
We've got this was remember the Women's March right after Trump was elected, and my granddaughter has on the little pink hat. That she's the short one. My daughter, I don't know what happened to her hat, but obviously it started raining, and we're at a big demonstration.
And do I have this right that Ivy, your daughter, that Deborah and I think maybe Vicky, but Peggy were there for her birth?
Yes, Ivy was delivered, but she was Peggy's first delivery, and Peggy went on and became a midwife. It was Vicky, Deborah, Peggy, and my daughter's father, Ivy's father, Horst. We were we were the delivery team. So that was a happy happening. So Ivy was born at Jade Cove, Big Sur.
And your granddaughter's name is?
Analea, and she was born at home in Fairfax in her family house.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Let's come back to us, and I've got a list of questions to ask you, my friend. How would you describe Esalen and its place in the world?
Well, I think no matter what is happening at Esalen or how cutting edge it is, I think that the idea that there is an Esalen is really one of the biggest parts of Esalen, that there is a place where I can go and I can retreat and I can put the world aside and be part of a larger, more natural world. Knowing that, whether you go there, whether you don't go there, knowing that that's a possibility just gives many people so much peace.
What is your favorite part of the property?
Well, the hot baths, of course. I love the hot baths, and I love the old baths. I love the new baths more, but I love the water, really, that slippery water. Hot, I might add.
Have you found that you love the baths more during the day or at night?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I love the baths most at sunset, really. I love to go down and take a sunset bath. And there was a time at Esalen where that was a staff hour, and you'd go down there. And there would be the general manager, and he'd be doing his yoga pose, and then next to him would be some new hire in the kitchen, and she'd be doing her yoga pose, and the next table would just be a couple lying looking at the sea. I love it at sunset, and just you down there, and then the very first star comes out, and you can see it pop out of this. There it is. It just pops out right in front of you. I love that.
Me too. So I'd love to hear your perspective on how Esalen Massage came to be. This Esalen Massage form emerged, which is now being practiced by tens of thousands of people.
Massage was happening in hot springs areas all over California, and not much. And most people didn't go to those areas. My mother really thought that was quacks. You know, they were going to treat you rheumatism and don't go there. So I came with a pretty strong message against hot springs. But massage was happening at hot springs. There was an old tradition of hot springs, and it carried into Esalen. I don't actually even know when the first any massage was given, but I'm going to guess it was in the 50s. So that was going on. However, at Esalen, there was this movement to become more sensitive in our bodies, to become more aware of the wind, to become more aware of our surroundings. And that was really fed by Charlotte Selver and Charles Brooks, sensory awareness.
Well, take a moment right there, because many people will never have heard the name Charlotte Selver or Charles Brooks before.
Yeah.
Who were they and what did they teach?
Charlotte Selver came out of Germany, out of the Bauhaus movement, and I think she and Fritz and several of the other leaders too, definitely all came out of this same impulse that kind of favored the natural body. That's a nice way to say it succinctly. And breathing and paying attention. And so Charlotte Selver at some point met Charles Brooks and they worked together. And she had a big studio in New York and a big following. And I actually love this part of the story. She came to San Francisco and she taught at the San Francisco Zen Center before it was the Zen Center. She taught with Suzuki Roshi at the original Zen temple, wherever he was. And they recognized the presence-based, the background of sensory awareness, how it related to their own Zen practice. And from there, she came into Esalen, and she's really in the very first catalogs.
So Charlotte Selver and Charles Brooks were teaching, you mentioned Zen, a kind of a consciousness, a mindfulness, a presence within the natural environment and within oneself. And that had an influence on the massage style. What else shaped the massage style?
Well, massage. Swedish massage was very popular, you know, the kind of, and Swedish massage is about circulation, it's about health. So that was already going on in hot springs. But when you took that massage and you melded it with something smoother and softer and better feeling, and people noticed, said, wow, this is relaxing. I don't need somebody to beat me up. That really changed massage. And the person who was doing Swedish massage, of course, was Molly Day Shackman.
Now, I didn't know Molly Day Shackman, but that name has come up as I've been exploring the emergence of Esalen massage. Who was she and what did she contribute?
She came in with this background of Swedish massage, and she was just one of those people who was very curious. You know, some people go, they learn this and then they learn that and they meld it together. And that was really her. When she would teach a move, she would go, oh, and I just learned this move last week, this little pinching the finger. Or she was endlessly adding things to massage. She was really integrating this vast practice of body work that was just barely emergent at the time. I guess she put it together in a way that it was part of what people came to Esalen for. A massage.
Which was what? What was it that they came to Esalen for?
People came to Esalen for the craziest reasons. A lot of them came for the workshop. Those were people because big-time psychologists were coming through with really new ideas, as well as other people in the movement arts, Anna Halprin, people who were really mixing it up and recognizing the value of personal experience in anything. So certainly those people were coming. Also coming were the people who saw Esalen as a free spirit place, and that was a lot of people from LA and people from the Midwest.
Did this mood and this character become a part of the Esalen massage? I mean, or was it just going on around Esalen and the baths and the massage was something unto itself?
You know, if I may quote another of my teachers, Alyssa Lodge, the body is revolutionary. Acknowledging the body is revolutionary. We all spent our youth ignoring the body. You were supposed to march through sickness, show up in school, none of this namby-pamby, stay home when you have a symptom. The body was something that was here and was to be controlled. And that certainly went with sexuality. And then in the 60s, suddenly people were saying, the reports in the 50s, the importance of orgasm and sex. And then here comes massage, which acknowledges the body. And by the way, you're touching skin. So all of that came together at Esalen, that the need to explore personal relationships, then the need to explore sexuality, really, and how one was with that in the world, and the need to explore the vast ramifications of mind.
So, Bree, you're in the middle of all this, and Alyssa Lodge, you've mentioned, Charlotte Silver, but then there's Ida Rolf showing up, and there's Will Schutz showing up, and there's the work of Wilhelm Reich showing up through Al Lowen and John Parakis and Stanley Kellerman, and there's maybe I mentioned Moshe Feldenkrais, but then Milton Traeger shows up, and Al Huang is teaching his movement in Tai Chi. How did these different teachers impact the Esalen massage, in your opinion?
Well, I think we could take and talk at length about the impact of each of those people on Esalen massage. The overall impact was that here was something really cool, the body, and that what I had agency in the body. I had agency over my health. And the one other group you didn't mention there, the Army showed up to
say more about that.
The Army showed up to study our massage as part of their drug rehab program. And you can't believe how stunned those people were when they found out where they were going. And they went with it. They came down, we laid them out in the baths, 8 tables, taught them how to give a massage, and they massaged each other, and they were surprised. So a lot of things were coming together, and really recognizing that acknowledging the body promoted healing and also promoted psychological well-being, and also told us a whole lot about ourselves. And the movements that I made might be revealing my thoughts all the time. So that all impacted Esalen massage, and the notion that we should get rid of anything that was confining us certainly showed up in massage, because we were working on nude massage. We were working on nude massage because we were in the baths, and people had to hop in and out of the baths to stay warm. There was no heat. But also that wonderful liberating feeling of being in a group and recognizing that who you are is important. It's not the appearance that you put on. Ownership.
Brita, let me ask you sort of an edgy question. There was a psychedelic era that has come alive and quieted and come alive and quieted. What role did psychedelics play in the giving or receiving of massage back in the day?
I think psychedelics really woke us up to our senses and the potential of our senses. And we were busy feeling leaves, and we were busy noticing beautiful fabrics, and the sunset was jaw-dropping. And psychedelics also, we were able to climb inside our body. So we were really able to work with a massage practitioner. I think psychedelics were a very large part of the formation of body awareness and appreciation of massage. And certainly when you're giving a massage, not that you would give one stoned, but just that you were now had that enlivened consciousness of sensory. Big piece.
I've always thought of you, in addition to being an extraordinary healing arts practitioner, as an intellectual. Even back in the early 70s, I lived down the road from you, and I would occasionally pick you up and I'd drive you to work, and we talk about science fiction novels. Yeah. How do you reconcile being an intellectual and a thoughtful person with doing body work?
I'm taking a deep breath for that question. I think at the core of that question, if I really were taking the time to be in a meditative space and being fully present based, which I like to strive to do, I firmly know that my body is a thinking body, that my body has intelligence. And the more I can be present for my own inner intelligence, the intelligence in my body, noticing when one of my foot goes forward and the other's going over here, that I might not be that clear on a decision. The minute that I bring that into my consciousness, then it does add to my decision making capability and my ability to strategize my life. Well, also, then there's the wonderful sensual world that Esalen opens up. I mean, it's unbeatable. Not only do I feel my skin, my body, my back, my aches, my pains, I feel the joy of walking. I feel when I get going and there's a lot of exhilaration. I feel like climbing to the top of the mountain instead of just looking up at it through binoculars. It's really that difference.
Well, certain elements bring strength, others bring yoga flow, others bring a certain kind of midwifery. I've always felt when you've worked on me that you had this profound level of intuition that almost didn't ever have to say anything, and somehow you would know where I was hurting. Do you feel that about yourself, and how would you teach that?
How to teach it is a really big question. I do feel that my intuition is what's guided me in my life, and that doors, I simply see the door open and I walk through it. I've trusted my intuition to get there. But really, Ken, intuition is not a sixth sense particularly. It's a recognizing the five senses and paying attention to them. So, for example, when I'm working on you, I will notice this and I will notice this and I'll remember what you said and I'll also remember your tone of voice. You've given it to me already, but I had to receive it. That's the piece that's intuition, to receive what you're being given. And also to quiet down enough and not think that I have, if I came in and thought that I had the answer to what was going on with your shoulder, that would get in the way. It could also inform me if I used it informatively, but if I use it in terms of I know, then my intuition is not going to be welcomed.
Thank you. So occasionally people refer to what goes on as body work. Some people refer to it as massage. Some people refer to it as a healing art. What do you prefer?
I prefer massage, especially at this point in my life. I've had some injuries, and what has helped me the most are things that put me back into my body in a pleasurable way. Because in an injury, we're doing everything we can to not pay attention. I don't want to notice that fractured pelvis. I don't want to notice this. But a massage allows me to notice it, but there's something about the pace and the rhythm that adds, I regain that sense of pleasure in the body, or at least of well-being, of feeling okay that I have this piece, and I have this piece that's sore, and that's what's happening. It also allows me to acknowledge what's real as opposed to what I'm trying to pretend isn't there.
So you've mentioned in a few ways, at a few moments, this notion of being embodied and being present with your aches or pains or pleasures or sexuality or sexual identity. And the idea of a practitioner, a trained practitioner, working with you to smooth things and integrate things and calm you down and allow you to feel that deeper presence. How do you feel when you go out in the world and people just do the, touchy-feely?
Well, Ken, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that we are afraid of touch as a culture. I'm watching massage practitioners, and they're working, our Esalen massage practitioners, working so deeply and so much oriented toward therapeutics. I think we're afraid of the power of simple contact and touch. And so when people go, woo, oh, I heard it on NPR the other day. Wait, don't tell me. Oh, Esalen, isn't that woo-woo place? Simple, basic, curative, connecting things, particularly simply touch. Not touch that I'm going to hug you and then I'm going to let go of you. We can all do that, and we do that really well. We do that so well, much better than we used to. And post-pandemic, we're so much more grateful for doing it. But the real just lingering touch and being present with somebody without words, with contact, it's such a deep experience. It's intimate, and it's not something that we're totally comfortable with.
What might people who've never had an Esalen massage, what might you share as to what they might hope to receive or get or benefit from an Esalen massage?
So I'm going to pretend I'm talking to the client.
Please.
Yeah. So welcome to this session. This session is going to help bring you home to your body. Realize you've had a stressful time. You've had a marriage, a death, a birth, a move, and you're here because things are happening and you want to come back into one whole person, and this massage is going to be of benefit to you. We'll be working on your whole body. You'll be draped the whole time, and please feel free, if anything doesn't feel good, to let me know that. And let's begin. I'm going to begin by simple contact, and then I'll add strokes. I'll work more deeply. I'll check in with you about the pressure. This is your massage, your experience.
To what extent do you feel that you're also orchestrating the sound of the waves and the porpoises and the whales that occasionally breach and the sunlight? I mean, versus doing a massage in a hotel somewhere without all of that wonderful ambiance.
Well, I have to say the ambiance you just described certainly influences. There's so much, there's so much water sound. The ocean is splashing, the tubs are doing whatever they're doing if you're working in certain places. And the air is so wonderful, and you've just spent this time in this green world and it's not crowded. So yes, that ambience certainly counts. But I have given massages on the 13th floor in Hiroshima. And the woman there, the Esalen practitioner, she walked in. Well, obviously, she's on an office. She can't have a thing, but she did a foot bath and talked to the person while she gently massaged their feet. And then they lay on the table. She had a beautiful flower here and a beautiful flower there. And her curtain was pulled just a little bit so you could see the flow of light changing. And it was still very much an awareness that this is a natural world and you and I are part of it.
So while there's great delight and beauty and even profound experience being in Big Sur at Esalen, at the baths to get a massage, what you're saying is you can have an Esalen experience anywhere.
Yes, is the short answer. And I think the key there is so much of the environment is about keeping the stimulation down, that really allowing myself or the massage person being massaged, that's who it's happening to. There's not music that's particularly rhythmic. It's just sort of very soft if there's music, and it's an opportunity to focus on me. The background is not going to be intrusive.
Thank you. So I have a question for you. I've never asked you this.
Uh-oh.
You've been at this a long time, 50 years or so, being a teacher, being an administrator, being a promoter, organizer, but also doing the work. What has kept you into it over all this time?
That I often ask myself that question, and I've had good friends who initially said, "Gosh, I don't know why you keep taking workshops." But the human body is such a mystery. The human being is a mystery, really. I'm a mystery, and you're a mystery, and it's a wonderful not understanding, but you get more and more information about that mystery. The other main thing is that massage gives you, it's a little bit like being a great cook. You get really good instant feedback. Right now, I'm in a place where a lot of people in this neighborhood haven't received massage, and the old woman up the street, she's probably, I think she lies about her age, I think she's 87, she's fallen down, and she was so depressed. So I started going up and seeing her every day, and the next thing I knew, I was going up every day and giving her a little foot massage. Well, her healing has been phenomenal.
Hmm.
Just by reminding her you have feet and giving her the notion that her body can be a pleasurable thing instead of this painful lumbar fracture. So so that's an instant, here's something I can do. I can give it to you. It can make you can feel better, and from there the people you relate to can feel better. And I really do think that touch and massage can change the world.
Talk to
And
me about, if you're a massage practitioner, how much of it is giving, how much of it is getting in your worldview?
you know, I do love to get massages, and I need them. Um, and I try to get one. I try to get one once a month. I would get one more often, but once a month is manageable. And then I do my rolling around on the floor and on pillows and stuff. So I need to do that. But there is something about giving a massage that is really almost like the ultimate in meditation. I'm quiet, I'm present, you're here on the table, there's no sounds to distract me, and there's this beautiful flow, and I'm just present. And oh my goodness, look, I'm feeling something here. There's a little knot right here under my, oh, and then we'll integrate that back in. And then this thing about energy and the body, well, it's not been my central focus, but it's always there. The connection of between the giver and the receiver, that interface, and the connection between that interface and the larger world, whatever it is. But because there's always these cues about nature, then I can broaden it so that when I'm thinking my world is narrow, when I'm giving a massage, it's just a much broader plane that I'm on.
That was just so beautifully described, Rita. Thank you. Um, I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to ask you to boast, but tell it to me straight. What do you think are the major contributions you've made to the field of massage and body work and healing arts?
Taking another deep breath and giving that some thought, that's a kind of a new question. I think one thing that I've made is really emphasizing working on articulating what we do. At the beginning, Esalen Massage classes were taught without any words at all. You'd walk in and you'd talk to each other. When's the teacher going to get here? Have you got your sheet? But then the show would begin, and people would get demo the massage, and then the people would watch, and we didn't, no questions asked. And then everybody tried their best to emulate what they had just seen. And I think one of the things I've done is really to work on our articulation skills. And I continue to do that because it's not easy. Um, Massage is thought of as this kind of a thing that just goes with an anatomy chart. You've got an anatomy chart, you've got a skeleton, you're going to describe the massage in terms of make sure you get that under that clavicle and be sure you get that notch. And it's not thought of in terms of the felt sense of what do you experience when you get under that clavicle. And it's not thought of in terms of, and now I, as the giver, am going to reflect back to you what my experience was during that massage. So that I really emphasize, and I think it's really at the heart of Esalen Massage, that self-reflective quality as upon receipt of the touch, or upon giving the touch, or upon meeting this person. the contact level, being moving into expressiveness. I also am a part of the loving to dance, recognizing that dance and movement are one of the most fabulous ways that the body renews its sense of coordination. So I'm a part of that movement on the massage crew.
Let's stay on that point for a second. So you've been trained and have a practice as a psychotherapist in addition to this. When Freud was crafting his model, he paid no attention to the body, really. He would sort of look the other way. You'd be lying on a couch and he'd be taking notes. And then it was Reich and Jung and Fritz Perls who began to say, wait a minute, there's a body side of the mind, and they're interacting with each other. How can psychology benefit from a deeper recognition of what you've learned as a bodywork practitioner? Most psychologists don't pay that much attention to a person's relationship to their body.
You know, when you're just paying attention to the words as a psychologist, you're only getting about a third of the picture. There's a whole lot of other information coming in, and many psychologists, the really good ones, are paying attention to that information coming in, but they're not doing it in a way that also encourages the client to pay attention to that information coming in. So the client won't notice that they're holding their breath. The facilitator might say, have you noticed you've been holding your breath since you brought this topic up, or you haven't been breathing as deeply? But he might just make a kind of mental note of that, but not involve the client. I do think the embodied work gives so much more agency to the client to do this deep excavation process of leading toward one's freedom.
What advice would you give to somebody watching this about how to get the most out of receiving an Esalen style massage? What are the 3 or 4 things that a person should do or take note of or not do to get the most of the experience?
I think the most important thing is when you show up and you're actually on the massage table, close the door to the rest of your day. Allow yourself that freedom, that space to just be there for the massage. And know that you can come back to those thoughts. You can go ahead and worry about the company going under when the massage is over. But for right now, it's to provide an opportunity to drop into you, knowing that a whole fresh new attitude might change everything on that financial sheet. So I think that's the most important thing. The next most important thing is to be willing to feel. And for so many people, they come in and the first massage is an experience of sleeping. They sleep right through it. And they might wake up when you tap their feet and in fact, we all have our special moves to wake our clients up. But they go to sleep because they're not used to sensing their body. So to begin to wake up your senses, even when you're taking a shower, or maybe massaging your own feet or massaging your friend's feet, to begin to wake up your senses way before you get on the massage table. Then the third thing I would say is allow the massage to settle at the end. Let's make the third thing, allow yourself to really feel the massage when it hurts. Some of the time, some of those muscles are going to be really old patterns of holding. And even contacting them with a little pressure is going to be almost an ouch, not quite. And you can say that's too much pressure, but keep your attention there. Keep your attention there. If it's too much, by all means, let your practitioner know. But allow yourself to stay with that discomfort and see what happens next.
What's the one thing in your career that you're most proud of?
I think today, since you're asking me today, I'm proud of the massage school, that we've allowed so many of our students to find a meaningful life path that's legitimate. I'm really proud of that.
Massage school was set up in 1983,
Yes.
and you've had a pretty strong role in keeping that alive and keeping your hand on the rudder to make sure it aims towards its destiny. So you're most proud of that.
Yes.
Of all of the various teachers and gurus and sages and goddesses and psychics and who you've encountered at Esalen over the last half century, who's the one or two that you thought was the most wonderful?
I'm glad you give me the opportunity for two. I'm going to actually give three. The first one is Seymour Carter, because he was in all of these fields. He was cathartic in the bodywork field where people needed to let it all out. And then he was psychologically, what's your thumb doing now? In his Gestalt work, what's your thumb want to do? Speak as your thumb. So I'm going to mention Seymour, and because he was so willing to really study what it was like to be a rebel, and unfortunately what the downside of being a rebel is. Peggy is such a huge influence on me, Peggy Horan. She gives me, her advice in my life has led me here. She told me that I could teach massage. I said, oh, I don't think so. She said, oh, sure you can, and invited me into classes, and also loved the world of dance even more than I did, and is also a really straight shooter. When it comes to woo-woo, she's not that high on the list, so a really great shooter. I got two more. One, of course, is Dick Price. Without Dick Price bringing in these great bodywork teachers and being so invested, really, in healing himself after the trauma of a medical profession that didn't do well by him, a psychiatry profession that didn't do well by him, of bringing in these all the teachers that you mentioned on that list earlier were brought in by Dick Price. So I have to put him on the list. And finally, I'm going to add a wild card, and that's Richard Olney. Richard Olney really taught us that we could redo our minds. You know, you might think, I look at that picture with the dolls, that girl was alone. He had me find, where are the other people in that picture? How are they around you? Bring them in too. So he really allowed me to make changes in myself. And he he worked deeply with Native Americans at the end of his life.
So my next to final question. Your own aging. When we first knew each other, we were in our 20s, and here we are. How old are you now? You're 70 something, 8?
78 and a half.
So
Yeah.
do you view your aging as an ascent or a descent?
Mostly, I'm surprised and pleased by how good I feel at this point in my life. When I look at how old I thought my grandparents were at this point in their lives, and I know myself, I still have great capacities. There's great things that I'm going to do still. I'm really pleased, and I really attribute a lot of that to Esalen, to the fact that it kind of gave me back both my body and my voice, so that I can keep moving and I can keep enjoying this time.
Thank you. Last question. I want you to imagine it's decades from now. I'm gone, you're gone, all of us are gone. It's another time. What is it you want people to remember about Brita Ostrom? What do you want them to say? Brita, she was?
She was kind. She was really to throw a lot of things out and take a lot of new things in.
Well, let me say that as a friend and a client and an admirer of yours for so long, that I have so loved this discussion, and I have so much respect for you, Brita. So thank you so much for all that you are and all that you've done and all that you will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.